Holy City Center Radio is episode 96, and I am your host, Christian Sanger. Today is Wednesday, March 15th, 2023, and we are in a race against my computer battery. That's right, my laptop battery is almost done. Sure, my charger's downstairs, not far from me at all, but we're going to live a little dangerously here. We got to get through this podcast before the little thing pops up and is like, hey, we're going to shut you down and you're going to lose everything. Living dangerously here at Holy City Center Radio. Hope you all are having a good week. Things are doing all right over here. Nothing too exciting to report. If you hear some jingling in the background, that is my cat's new collar. If you remember from the last episode, he went on a little adventure and got lost in a business next door. He had lost his little Apple AirTag somehow during this ordeal. So I had to get him a new one, complete with a collar with a little bell on it. So now I know what he's doing at all times, where he is, how close he is to me, and he is wearing the bell of shame, and he deserves it for the time being. We'll see if he earns his silent collar privileges back, but for now, that's what we're dealing with in this house. All right, let's get into the stories for today's episode. First of all, congrats to the College of Charleston men's basketball team. They won their conference tournament, of course, which earned them an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. On Sunday, they officially found out who they are going to play. They will be taking on San Diego State in the NCAA tournament. So that's going to be a fun game. It'll be great seeing Charleston, back in the big dance. Should be a lot of fun. That first round game will be on Thursday. It's a weird time. It's like 3:10 or 3:15 in the afternoon, but that could change because especially these first two rounds of the tournament, they have so many games at the same venues that, some games run over. So you'll have to kind of keep an eye on some sports websites and whatnot, but that's the idea. And they're going to be on True TV. There's a lot of different channels. They may seem random, but they all fall under like the CBS and whatever other partners have coverage rights for this. So that could change as well, again, depending on what other games are going on, if some go to overtime and, all that good stuff. So you might have to do some searching, but that is the plan. So if you want to cheer them on, that's what you'll need to do. Head coach Pat Kelsey led this team to the 12th seed in the South region. And as I mentioned, at least I believe I did, the game on Thursday is taking place in Orlando. I don't know if I mentioned that. So, and if they win that, the second game will be in Orlando as well. And then they'll move on to a new location if they continue to win. For San Diego State, they were 27-6 this season and won the Mountain West Tournament Championship to give them their automatic bid. Charleston was 31-3, an amazing season that they had. It actually concluded last Tuesday night in Washington, D.C. As I mentioned, they won the Colonial Athletic Association title by a score of 63-58 over their conference rivals, UNC Wilmington. So looking forward to the tournament. I love the NCAA tournament. I especially love the Big East tournament, which takes place before it. My beloved UConn Huskies. So many amazing memories of both the men's and women's programs in the Big East tournament, especially the men because they play at Madison Square Garden, which is just, it's the mecca of college basketball. And, as good as they are, they haven't been as dominant in the conference as the women's team has been. So it's always been a little bit more special, especially, these last few years when they can have a nice run. But the NCAA tournament for both is so fun. I love just how it's set up and how each round, each set of rounds is in the same place and you keep moving to new locations. It's so much fun. And of course, filling out brackets and all that. So I hope you all enjoy it as well. It's a ton of fun if you're into college basketball. All right, moving on. Politics. We got a couple politicians with South Carolina ties agreeing on something here. First, we'll start with Nikki Haley, of course, former governor of South Carolina and former ambassador to the UN under former President Trump. She is currently running for president in 2024. She has been calling at some of her rallies and things for the retirement age for Americans that are currently in their 20s to go up. Whatever the normal retirement age is now, I believe it's 65. Excuse me for not looking it up. They're saying that is now going to raise in accordance to benefits and things upon retirement. That's what Nikki Haley is suggesting. So she wants to also limit Social Security and Medicare benefits for wealthy Americans, stating that this position, yeah, it's politically controversial when we're talking about entitlement reforms. And it's already been the subject of some attacks from the former president. And of course, some Democrats have been attacking her on it as well. It's not a popular position, but it is something that does need to be talked about in her defense. There's been talk for years that certain generations might reach retirement and oops, you don't have all those benefits that you thought you had. So politicians are trying to think of ways to, fix this issue. This one, I don't know how popular it would be. If I was in my 20s, I'd be a little bummed to hear my retirement age may go up and I may have to wait a little longer to retire. And hopefully there'll be a different solution that's presented by someone. But that is what she went on the record saying. She said, quote, what you would do is for those in their 20s coming into the system, we would change the retirement age so that it now matches life expectancies, is what she told Fox News. When she was pressed for specific new retirement age, like what actual age she supports, she didn't really answer, kind of gave a weird rambling response that politicians tend to do when they don't actually have a plan fully thought out yet. She said, it's the new ones coming in. It's those in their 20s that are coming in. You're coming to them and you're saying the game has changed. We're going to do this completely differently. So no answer on what she thought that new retirement age should be for these kids in their 20s. She wasn't alone, as I mentioned. Representative Nancy Mace here in District 1 in South Carolina agreed. On Sunday, she said that raising the retirement age for future Social Security beneficiaries should be on the table as long as it doesn't affect anybody that's heading into retirement right now. So basically, echoing what Nikki Haley said. Mace said she thinks that it's something, like as I said, that has to be on the table. We have to look at it. She told CNN's Caitlin Collins during State of the Union, which is one of their television programs, when she was asked about Nikki Haley's proposal. So basically, it was an agreement. And then she went on to say, I'm 45 years old. I'm assuming that Social Security will be insolvent, that I won't have retirement funds from what I put into my adult life, my working life. We do have to look at Social Security. We've got to look at our spending in this country, mandatory and discretionary. Now, what neither Haley and Mace are saying, of course, is that this, I mean, I'm sure it matters to them in some respects, but both of them are pretty significantly wealthy, as most politicians tend to be. Nancy Mace recently married someone who is, the head of certain companies. He's involved in investing in them. And anyway, they're multimillionaires and they bought a multi-million-dollar house recently. You can find it in the news. It was reported on. She might not have some money. Yeah, that stinks if any money you put in, no matter how wealthy you may or may not be. Of course, that stinks, but she's going to be okay. And so is Nikki Haley. It's nice that they're trying to think of a way to help this issue that we are heading towards. But what do they care? Honestly, yeah, sure, raise the retirement age. What do they care? They can either retire very early if they choose to end their political careers and whatever else they may be involved in outside of politics, or their political career ends if they're voted out and they decide not to run again. And then they can take, some pretty plum speaking gigs where they can charge lots of money. They can be consultants on campaigns and they won't need it, but they'll still be able to get pretty lucrative jobs. So what do they care if you and I, well, depends on your age. What do they care if we don't get our funds, which may be something that runs into my generation, or you now have to work longer because that's the only solution they could come up with. If you're someone in your 20s, you're going to have to work longer than the rest of us. Of course, if we don't have our retirement benefits when we retire, we might be forced to work longer. So it's an issue. It's being talked about, has been for several years now, that this is a potential issue that we could run into in this country. And some of us, like I said, may not have any money available to us, and others may have to work longer now, is what's being suggested. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not going to pretend that I do, but I just hope there's got to be something better than this, right? Telling some people, "Hey, just kidding, you now have to work until whatever." But and as usual, they're saying these things, but not really giving any details. Haley, we got to raise it. we got to raise the retirement age for people in their 20s. Okay, to what? Yeah, you will just tell them, the game has changed and we're changing it. She doesn't answer. Nancy Mace, same thing. Like, it's something to look at, she says, but doesn't really give any details. You know, and we all know Nancy Mace, where it all depends on where the wind is blowing. Her answer will change depending on how this tests with the rest of her party, of course, and how crucial her vote may or may not be if it comes up for a vote. So, like, you can't really read much into what she's saying, but Nikki Haley seems to be going full bore at it. So we have that right now. All right. So it's going to seem like no time has passed when Lindsay does a great job editing this. The truth is, a little bit of time did pass between the last story ending and me starting now. I chickened out. I got the battery alert. I had to go get my charger. I couldn't lie to you and say I made it through. I chickened out. I didn't want to lose the recording. So I just had to come clean for you. All right, moving on. We got some interesting food news. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the reasoning for this. But Pepperidge Farms, makers of all sorts of cookies and treats and things, they announced that they have released a new birthday cake cookie. Nothing too surprising there. I'm sure you've all had a birthday cake cookie or ice cream or something similar before. But what's interesting and why we're talking about it here is the name of that cookie is going to be Charleston. And so now you're probably wondering, okay, why is it named Charleston? It's a birthday cake cookie. It's just like a regular cookie. It's got some sprinkles in it. And so the Post and Courier reached out to the parent company, Campbell's Snacks. And this is what a spokesperson said is behind this new Charleston cookie that they've released. They said they wanted to create an entirely new cookie experience, which, by the way, I love that cookie experience, not just like a flavor, cookie experience it. You got to experience it. So they created a new cookie experience for fans that are that they say is going to be both indulgent and invoke special memories. And so they decided that because they had this birthday cake, that's flavor that's got sprinkles and they're multicolors, they decided it reminded them of Rainbow Row. And so that is why they decided to name this new birthday cake cookie creation. That's a lot of alliteration I just did and almost stumbled over it. That's why they named it Charleston. And okay, that's loosely ties in, but they also had some other explanations that were kind of weird. They said they also borrowed the name because Charleston is a destination that has become popular to celebrate life's milestones, including birthdays. Okay, the sprinkles and Rainbow Row was a fairly loose tie-in. This is even looser. I know that people do all sorts of celebrations here. Specifically, we all immediately, I'm sure, think of bachelor and bachelorette parties that up and down King Street every weekend. But birthdays, I mean, I'm sure people do, but just a very loose tie-in. Hey, I've no beef. No, it's cool. It's gonna be neat to, see this in stores and be like, it's the Charleston cookie. And who doesn't love birthday cake flavor? Again, cookies, ice cream, whatever it may be, or birthday cake itself, right? So, interesting explanation, but again, hey, whatever. It's named after Charleston. That's pretty cool. If you're interested in at least seeing the packaging and everything, and if not buying the cookies themselves, Pepperidge Farms says that the new soft baked cookie is available in U.S. stores at a suggested retail price of $5.09 for an 8.6 ounce bag. So you should be able to see them in stores around that $5 range if you want to give them a shot. All right. Lastly, on this episode, I like this one. We've got some pretty much all fun news besides the politics thing in the middle about, hey, you might not have retirement or you may be retiring way later than you thought. Putting all that aside, we got cookies, we got basketball, and now we got a bunch of concert announcements, specifically the Credit One Stadium out on Daniel Island, the tennis stadium. It's had a few different corporate names over the years, but they have really done a great job these last 2 years of bringing in acts. They've always had a few shows that were pretty good, but the lineup, was iffy most years. There was like 2 or 3 that were interesting, but the last couple of years, they've really been pulling in some big names and doing a great job under their new ownership and everything. And this year is already shaping up to be similar to last year. I've already talked about some of the announcements, but here are some that were made recently. First up, the rock music legends known as the Doobie Brothers will be performing at the venue during a stop on their 50th anniversary tour. That's going to be Saturday, September 9th Tickets for that one are already on sale. Next up, longtime Road Warriors, Jam Banders, Widespread Panic, which I was surprised to learn a few years back, has a pretty strong following, period, but really in Charleston. When you think of big jam bands, you think of like Fish, and to a lesser extent, the Dave Matthews Band. They're not as jammy as, like Fish, but they have their moments. You think those are like the more popular ones, maybe Humphreys McGee and, some others that are out there. But this one has like a really passionate fan base in this area. At least that's what my experience has been. Every time I post about this band, everybody's super excited about them. But yeah, so not only are they going to be coming back to the area, they're going to be playing on back-to-back nights out at the Credit One Stadium in May. That will be specifically May 5th. And the openers that night will be a local band, Doom Flamingo, who's also very popular in this area and definitely a cool band you should check out if you haven't already. And then on Saturday, May 6th, the opener will be Daniel Donato's Cosmic Country. Don't know anything about them, but I like the name, Cosmic Country. They'll be on the Saturday show. Tickets for both are on sale as well. I don't know if they're sold out yet, but there's like a 2-day ticket package that you can purchase if you're interested in going both nights. Next up is the pop rock band Train, which I'm sure you're very familiar with. They've had some massive hits over the years. So they'll be playing at the venue on September 2nd. Showtime is 7:30 p.m. The opener for that show will be a country band called Parmalee. Again, tickets for that one are also already on sale. And finally, Counting Crows will be coming back to the venue. They've played there several years ago. Their opener will be Dashboard Confessional, which recently played the North Charleston Performing Arts Center when they were touring with Jimmy Eat World. So they'll be back in the area. Their show with the Counting Crows will be on Wednesday, August 2nd. Showtime is 7 p.m. Tickets for that one are not on sale yet, but will be soon. This Friday, March 17th at 10 a.m. All Credit One shows go through Ticketmaster. If you remember a previous episode where I talked about tickets and how people find them, don't just Google tickets and go to the first thing that pops up. It's usually like a third-party seller. Not that Ticketmaster doesn't do like that third. It's not technically third party, but I could buy tickets to a show that Ticketmaster is selling tickets to. I can then resell those tickets on Ticketmaster's website for a profit. So they have a similar setup than these third-party sites do, but they tend to at least have cheaper options, especially if the show hasn't sold out yet. They're going to have much cheaper options than some of those third-party sites. So I always recommend going directly through Credit One's website, Credit One Stadium's website, I should say, or Ticketmaster. So just keep that in mind when you're looking for tickets. And also keep in mind, for the last show at least, there's pre-sales for just about all shows these days. And there's different types. Sometimes credit cards will offer you early ticket access. Sometimes the venue will if you sign up for like their email newsletter. Sometimes bands do if you're in their fan club or if you sign up for their email newsletters. So there's always chances to get tickets earlier than the general on sale as well. So something else to keep in mind as we continue to announce more and more shows as we get closer to, the warmer months, and there'll be more outdoor performances by acts coming through. So that'll do it. Like I said, happy that this was mostly good news, or fun news at least, and not just a bunch of politics and sad things, although I had to sandwich a little bit in there because, it's South Carolina. There's going to be something crappy in the works at all times. There's something bad to talk about when it comes to politics. But as usual, the music and the fun, the concerts, the theater, sports, food, that's all the good stuff that we love about Charleston specifically. And, of course, other parts of South Carolina have some good options in those categories as well. So glad I could spend most of my time talking about that stuff. Let's hope for more of that in the future. And yes, I know I am in charge of the content, but as much as I would love to talk about happy, fun things all the time, I want to share the serious news as well. I hope you're all having a great week. It is Wednesday, so that means just a couple more days to your weekend and one more episode of Holy City Center Radio this week on Friday. I can't wait to speak to you all then. First, before I say goodbye, thank you to Lindsay Marie Collins for producing each and every episode through LMC Sound System. Thank you to Tyler Boone, who produces each and every that's Lindsay's job. He actually provides the music. So thank you to him for doing that. And thank you to all of you for listening. If you haven't already, please review this podcast on whatever platform you listen on. Like it, review it, leave stars, whatever it is the platform allows you to do, please do it. All of that helps out. And, also just letting people know there's a podcast out there that's all about Charleston. I'm sure there's some folks who probably have similar interests to you and may like listening. So let them know. You can also support the podcast by going to holycitycenter.com/shop. And of course, patreon.com/holycitycenter. Look forward to talking to you on Friday. Until then, good night and good luck.